Hello, and welcome to the KISS Web Development Framework Introduction Series. This is Part 3, Web Services. Let's get to it. For starters, web services under KISS have the following properties. First of all, there's no wiring. That means when you add a web service, there's no XML file, JSON file, or properties file, or anything to set to configure it. If you just create the file, it's there. That's all there is to it. Second of all, through the use of microservices, there's no reason to build the system or to deploy it or any of those kind of things. The system automatically detects file changes and compiles them when you run it. So it makes it very convenient. The other thing is that those microservices are always fully compiled and full speed. So the system runs at the same speed as any other system that was fully compiled, regardless, even though you're not doing any specific steps to take that into account. The next thing is that it's asynchronous, which means that if the system's really loaded, these other connections are not just going to hang on. They actually make the request and then come back for the response, so that you minimize the load on the system. On the front end, all of the code is written in JavaScript. On the back end, you have three choices. You can use Java, you can use Groovy, and you can use Lisp. Groovy is really just an extended Java. It has a slightly simpler syntax and it's easy to use. It also runs the fastest in microservices. It compiles the fastest. So a lot of times I use just Groovy, but you can use any of the three. They all work fine. Lisp has a one-time cost in the first kind of time a web service is called in Lisp. It has to boot the Lisp system, and that takes a couple of seconds. But after that, it runs just as fast as the other systems. We are going to start by looking at the web services from the front end's perspective. So here you see we already have the server running, and we're already in the application. So I'm going to log in here, KISS, password, and I'm going to go to the REST services. And then we're going to take a look, and we're going to see if I take 2 and 3 and call Java, comes out 505. So the back end it's calling something on Java on the back end, and it's taking the 2 and the 3 and coming up with 505. Let's look at what's happening on the front end here. We look at the source code. We go to main. We have 3 subdirectories here. This is the application code, which is the back end code. Java is the KISS kernel, and then web app is the front end code. So if I go to application, let's go to the front end, which is web services, and we go to screens, and then we look at REST services, and we're going to look at the HTML first. First we have the 3 input fields that you saw there. This one here, this one here, and this one here. And that's right here. I'm calling one of them input 1, input 2, and input 3. So the first one's called number 1, number 2, and then this is the result of the 3. Now if you go back to the JavaScript code, when they hit the Java button, this is the code that gets executed. That's everything that gets executed. So first of all, over here, it creates a JSON object. It's calling data, but it has num1 is called whatever was in that input 1 field. Num2 is whatever was in that input field. And then here we're calling the actual web service. We're calling the back end. This is the web service name, and this is the web method. And then this is the data that we're passing in. RES, the result that's coming in from the server. If there's a server error, the system automatically handles that and issues an error message, so you don't even have to worry about that. Then here it says, if the result is a success, then what I want to do is set the input 3 equal to the result num3. So the back end is going to send back a JSON object, and in num3 is going to be that input 3. So all you have to do to call a web service is the web service name, the web method name, the data that you're sending in, and then RES has the data that you're having that's coming out. And that's everything that you need. We will now look at the back end of these web services. So as we saw, the web service is services my Java service. So if we look over here under application, we look into services, we're going to see my Java service. So that's the service that's being called. And then if you look back at the JavaScript, the method is add numbers. And if we look at the service, there's a function here called add numbers. So when you execute that on the front end, the back end, it automatically comes over here. So then if we look at the front end, you are passing in num1 and num2. And in Java, it's getting back num1 and num2. Then what it's doing is doing some calculation, and it's returning back in num3. So that's all it does. It takes the input JSON that comes in, and it creates the output JSON. This other configuration stuff, DB, is used if you're going to do any database stuff. It has an open database for you already. That's really all there is to web services. Thank you for viewing this video. Following videos in this series will go into further details regarding developing with the KISS system. We will be discussing front-end development, data persistence, and production deployment. Thank you.